during our last book club, the author of Roy White, Paul, mentioned that he was just read a book called Out of My League by Dirk Hayhurst, and he thought it'd be a good read for our chapter. And so we took that recommendation, and that's what we used for this book club this time. A little bit of background on Dirk Hayhurst. So I just went back and did a little research on him. So he was drafted by the Padres in the 8th round of the 2003 draft out of Kent State University. He played with the Padres in the minor leagues until 2008, where he was finally promoted up to the major leagues. 2008 season, he was selected off waivers from Toronto. He pitched for the Blue Jays in 2009. In 2010, he signed with the Tampa Bay Rays, and then was ultimately released in 2011. So his career statistics were 25 games he pitched in, 3 starts, 39 innings. He had 0 wins, 2 losses, 5.72 ERA. He's written 4 books, and the book we're going to talk about was the second book. The first book was called The Bullpen Gospels. It was written in 2010. Then he wrote Out of My League in 2012. 2013, he wrote Wild Pitches, and then his last book was titled Bigger Than the Game, Restitching a Major League Life in 2014. So there's other books out there. I haven't read them. I think, Frank, you've read yet another one of his, right?
Yeah, I read the Bullpen Gospels, which it goes up through his marriage, and it maybe expounds a little bit more on his family. He wound up reconciling with his brother. His brother became a member of Alcoholics Anonymous and asked him for his forgiveness. That was one of his steps in his program, and he kind of argued with the brother a little bit, but then he come to realize that it was best for both of them if he would give him his forgiveness. And so everything with the family kind of patched up a little bit. I mean, his father and him kind of his father told him he was proud of him no matter what he did, and that made him feel really good. And the only person that didn't make up with was the grandmother. She didn't come to the wedding. She stayed, but everything worked out well. The Bullpen Chronicles kind of was a little broader than this particular one. This one just focused in on the one season in the book. But yeah,
it's very interesting at the family dynamic. I guess we don't think about that a lot when we watch baseball players. We think of them as larger than life, and they don't have those issues, but we're all dealing with it, right? It's part of life. And somebody like that, he really spoke, I thought, pretty openly about his whole family, which was pretty interesting. I don't know what anybody else's thoughts were about that.
When the book started, go ahead. No,
go ahead. Well, I thought the title didn't quite lead us to what the most of the book was about, because when we got to a rookie survival in the bigs, we were probably 70% into the book. A lot of it, I mean, the guy is a great writer. He's an excellent writer. I know the Bullpen Gospels was well thought of, and I thought was a fairly popular baseball book. I never did get around to reading it, but yeah, I mean, his discussion of the family and all those things were really well done.
It felt like the humanity of this book was really interesting. Again, Scott, like you said, we have these pictures of the major leagues and what it's like to be a major leaguer, and the glamour of it. We all, or most of us, grew up wanting to be that baseball player, but this was a grind. I mean, this was a real grind for him, between the family dynamics, between the minor leagues. And so that was the thing that I really appreciated about the book, just the humanity of it.
Well, yeah. I'd like to know how much of that are rumors and mythology when you deal with a baseball player who's larger than life, and you add some, I don't know, you're just going to add some stuff to make him better or entertaining, and you're not sure, like Yogi Berra. Everybody has Yogi Berra stories, whether it's true or not. And I just wondered, with a lot of these players, they're just persons. They're just people with flaws.
That's why I think, talking about the family dynamic, and it kind of comes full circle at the end of the book when he's sitting in the bullpen and he's getting this moment with Trevor Hoffman. And he says to Hoffman, like, why do you do this? And he thought for a minute and he said, for his family. And he told him there's more than baseball out there. And being called up in August like he was, I forget how much money he got, something like $400,000 for the part of the season they pitched in 2008, which allowed him to pay for his wedding and pay for the engagement ring and things that were on his mind throughout the season. But I think he came to the realization that there was more to life than just baseball. He had dedicated his whole life to baseball, but now he was come to the realization that there was more out there, and I thought it came full circle to where he learned something. I mean, about his his family, his wife. These things were more important to him than I think than the game.
Yeah, I think he mentioned, I think it was a pitcher Dallas, or I think it's who he's referring to, who was always on the phone yelling at his wife and had all these family things going on. And I think he was afraid he was going to turn into that. And I think he kept mentioning he didn't want to be that. And I think to see that and understand that is it's hard to do, but he did that. There's definitely a lot of different personalities on a ball club. And
that guy also had gotten a big bonus, right? He had money. And the contrast between somebody who had to struggle to get where they are and, the dangers of getting too much money, too much fame early were clearly this guy's life was two women he'd gotten pregnant. I mean, it was something. This was almost like a ball for the modern audience, I think, on some levels.
That's what it sounds like, I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Well, what he mentioned when he brought his girlfriend out, when he was with San Diego, when he finally got called up, and he brought his girlfriend out to San Diego, and he basically said that he was running into guys that he played with in the minors, and they had changed. He said they started to get like a big head, that they were bigger than the game maybe, and I don't know if he was comfortable with it. I just, throughout the book, I kind of had a feeling that he was never going to make it as a major league player. He didn't seem to have the self-confidence, like the swagger that a ball player needs to achieve stardom today. I mean, if you don't have that mindset that you're the best and there's everybody else is just below you, you're not going to make it. And I don't think he ever thought he belonged. Especially, another example is when he went to when they went back to Petco Park for the first time, and he goes in the locker room, and he's experiencing all the extravagance of the lifestyle of a major leaguer when he checks into the hotel and things like that. Then he goes into the clubhouse and he sees this, like, there must have been like a counter with all these snacks on it. And he's thinking about taking one package of Fig Newtons. And this other veteran comes in and he's got a computer bag and he's shoving all kinds of snacks in there to where the bag's bulging. And he says, "Hey, help yourself. You're in the big leagues now." And he's hesitant about taking a single package of Fig Newtons. And then grabs a handful of stuff and throws them out and says, "Yeah, you're paying $50 a day. Take what you want. It's all yours, And the guy leaves and he takes a second packet, but at the same time, he almost feels guilty that he took a second pack. So I always felt like he didn't really he felt like he didn't belong there. That he just wasn't worthy.
Good point. Also, I think if you remember, there were couches in the middle of the locker room that somehow the rookies were not supposed to sit in those. And I think the things that don't seem to be happening today, like one of the practices I noticed that have stopped is making the rookie guys dress up in ridiculous outfits on one of the trips. And in this case, and I think that kind of quote harassment or whatever, I don't think they do that anymore. I haven't seen that. I know.
Yeah.
I remember one year the Yankees had their rookies dressing up as characters in The Wizard of Oz to go on a plane ride. Jabba Chamberlain, I think, was like Dorothy or something. I mean, it was crazy. But so I wonder if that same kind of rookie harassment, which, you know, they were all subject to. When you were talking about the guys that got the big heads that were already made it in, you know, I think there might have been a bit of fear that they didn't want to go back to the, you know, they were happy not to have the status of the newest rookie. I just wonder if anyone knows about the sort of rookie harassment that happens now. It just feels like that's not part of the game anymore. Like when a guy comes in, it's, you know, it's not the kind of thing in the old days when they would go after a rookie, sometimes because they felt that guy might take my position. But now it's just a rite of passage, which was well described in the book. And that's maybe 15 years ago. Does that still happen today? I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know if they, you know, I guess in a politically correct atmosphere, hazing is not accepted anymore.
Yeah. I have to say, what was your impression outside of the talk Trevor Hoffman had with Trevor Hoffman as he was described in the book? I mean, what I'm talking about is he said you got on the plane and Trevor Hoffman had his boom box and he'd crank up the music during the plane ride. I'm going, isn't that pretty damn rude? I have to listen to loud music coming out during a plane ride. And also Hoffman was very involved in the rookie harassment of this guy at the beginning.
With the candy bag.
That prank,
Yeah.
that was great. I could.
I mean,
They
I
didn't put
thought,
the candy bag up right.
I don't see Mariano Rivera doing that to somebody. That's all I'm saying.
I wonder though. I do wonder. They all knew he was a writer, so I do wonder if some of them did things or held back a little bit, knowing that he was going to write this book, and
Well,
that played into any of this.
had he been a published author when he came on the team though? Had that first book come out before? I don't know. I'm just asking. Did people know he was a writer?
I think he mentioned that he let a lot of them know he was going to write a book.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah,
Hoffman knew that he was writing.
Yeah. I don't think he was published at the time. I think maybe the first one came out around 2010, something like that. But he was keeping diaries, I believe.
Yeah. So this actually came out in 2012 then. Is that it? Okay.
Yeah,
That was afterwards though.
The
Yeah.
first book was 2010, so he would have been off the Padres at that point.
Yeah, because I don't I don't recall anybody in the book saying, "Oh, I read your book," or I must have missed that part. I have to say that when I was reading it, right around 175, I think, or somewhere, I said, when is he going to the big leagues? And I may have jumped 70 pages, but that's all. I mean, I feel like the themes were still there. You know, that's the part I jumped to, but I'm sorry, I don't remember him saying that he was telling them he was writing a book.
Yeah, I think he did it when he was in the minor leagues. I think it was early in the book he had mentioned it. I think one of the biggest things that struck me in this book is the gap between the AAA to major leagues, and I think he tried to make that kind of clear. You know, you're barely surviving and you're barely getting by, and then you walk in and it's like a palace. It's completely different, and I think salaries for the minor leagues have really drastically changed especially over the last few years. But I can imagine just trying to get by eating junk food every day, sleeping on a couch, no air condition. I mean, I can't imagine trying to get through the minor leagues that many years.
Bus rides to and from games, cities.
Excited because you're going to Vegas to play in Vegas, and then the guys were gambling and they couldn't wait to get there and that kind of stuff. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I know here in Harrisburg, I used to know a couple that would always house minor league players here. That they'd be one of those people that would, bring one into their home. But he said they don't do that anymore because now they make enough money to have apartments, and so they don't do that anymore.
That
I'm
might
not
be the
saying
case. That might be the case in affiliated bowl, but I know here in Lancaster they look for host families for the independent league teams. So the Stormers are always looking for host families, and I'm sure the Revolution out there in New York are the same way, because those guys, I think there's a salary cap on them. I don't think they make very much money in the course of a year in an independent bowl.
Well, as far as I know, like affiliated, they are paying the salaries, but the teams are doing everything else. I mean, they don't get. I'm not sure what. Yeah, yes, it's different. But also you get, I think, you get to have all those experiments that later turn up. Didn't last year, wasn't it? Didn't they move the mound back a foot? I thought I didn't.
Yep.
Did you see games like? Did you see any of those games?
I didn't see where the mound was moved back. I was at the first season when they had the robo umpire.
Yeah, how did that go?
Other than seeing the white earbuds in the umpire's ear, you wouldn't have known of it unless you looked up and saw the big thing behind home plate. But I mean, I didn't see any effect on the game at all.
I would imagine that. So do you have to like wait a beat to find out if it was a ball or a strike unless you swing? I mean, was it instantaneous when
It
you
was
saw that?
instantaneous. Yeah, because I mean, you had no, like I said, if you didn't see the buds in the umpire's ear, you would have never known.
Well, I guess you need the umpire because if the ball bounces into the box, he has to say that's not a strike, right? And if there's a play at the plate, you're always going to need an umpire for that. But
Sure.
I'm imagining that like even if you brush the lower level of the strike zone, you're going to get a strike, which most guys would probably not think that was the strike. I mean, I guess that. I mean, what there really is nothing to react to from the bench or anywhere else when you have a robo thing, right?
Well, yeah. Mike might be able to help me with this, but here in Lancaster, the Stormers have been they call it a partner league to Major League Baseball, whereas in the past they were purely independent. But
Right.
now MLB tries everything through these independent league. They went to like you said, they moved the rower back on the pitcher's mound a foot, and then it turned out that there was no real effect on the game, so they put it back to the original location. They were the first ones to start using the oversized bags that now I think Major League uses them.
Right.
And but just within the last couple of days, MLB did announce that they will not use the robo umps next year
In the majors.
in the majors, but everything else is still in place.
They're in AAA right now. They're using robo.
Yes.
Okay. In AAA. Oh.
Yeah.
It'll probably come.
Not
It'll
every
probably
game.
come.
There's only so many games of the series. I think it's like the first couple games, and then it transitions over to regular in the second half of the series, of the 4-game series.
So you're not going to get the ump no longer is going to give you this. I mean, because the thing already said that. Where's the excitement on your strike 3 call? I got to be honest. The thing that I miss the most is not doing the intentional walk, because I always thought there was fun to the fans booing for 4 pitches, possibly the pitcher being affected by intentionally throwing 4 pitches out. I didn't think that was that bad of a delay. I don't know. I missed the dramatics of that. But anyway, that's me.
I think the one thing that Land League is doing right now is that double hook. Whereas if your starter doesn't go 5, you lose your DH, which I think is really so. It's something that Major League has been kicking around
to make a starter go 5 innings.
Yeah, if you don't get a 5-inning start out of your starter, if you yank your starter before the 5th inning, you lose your DH.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
So there'd be no opener.
Well, it's a little tough on a person if they've taken 78 pitches to get through 3 innings, and I mean, they're hanging in there. Wow, that's a. I'm afraid. I would fear injury to pitchers to make them push to 5 somehow when you might not have done that otherwise. I don't know. I'd be worried. That, however, has nothing to do with Dirk Hayhurst.
It doesn't.
Sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
getting back to something that was said earlier when you were saying about the travel and the difference between AAA and the major leagues. We're talking 14 years, well, 16 years ago when he was going through this, and since then we've had the minor league system has been revamped. And now MLB requires the minor league clubs to increase their standards of their clubhouse and things like that. So maybe what he was going through as a minor leaguer, the minor leaguers today don't experience as many hardships as he did. The minor leaguers today might be a little bit more pampered than he was with the facilities and the accommodations.
I would agree. My understanding is the renovations they're now doing in Harrisburg have to do with just that, increasing the facility for the good of the players. A new organization, you may have read that, a new organization has taken over the Senators. They own like 30 minor league teams, I think.
Yep.
And I was told the 3 things they're working on are the food, the facilities, and the merchandising. So obviously they're going to have money to do things like that.
I think a lot of these minor league ballparks are putting housing up right nearby, because I've been going around to a lot of different minor league teams down the East Coast, and they're building up these high-rise, like almost like apartments for the players. I think that was part of that minor league deal.
Is that are these apartment buildings also housing other people? Is that the investment, or just simply for them?
It's both, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Let's see if I can share.
Oakland's having, their issues out there with their baseball team, but for the next 3 years, from what I understand, they're going to play in Sacramento's AAA stadium. So the facilities that must be half decent there for a major league team to make use of them. I mean, I couldn't see. I could see the Phillies are making use of their old facility up there in Scranton, Wilkesboro, or the Yankees. I mean, they're fairly nice facilities. Needless to say, they're not major league capacity, for attendance and all, but they probably upgraded things pretty much since Hayhurst played. So I don't think the story of the poor minor leaguers maybe holds water anymore.
Well, there'll always still be that enormous salary gap, and plus, the idea of traveling by plane will probably never come into the minor leagues. I don't know, unless they do now. But or also the having your own hotel room somewhere. I don't know, at the level that these major leaguers do. But you're right. I don't think it is as harsh or stark as it is described in the book.
I think they cut down on some of the travel by maybe 2 years ago when they started this thing in the minor leagues where you play the same team for a week.
Yeah, right.
So you're not traveling as much. So that would cut down on the bus trips right off the bat.
Right. I don't know if you remember that the Pacific Coast League, when it existed,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they did. You played somewhere a week. So if you came into LA, you would play the Angels for a week. And then right across town was the Hollywood Stars. You'd play them for a week. And they also played, I think, 194 games, something like that. Mm-hmm. Some guys didn't even want to go to the majors out of the Pacific Coast League because they could actually make more money there.
Who was the gentleman we had on, RJ, who wrote the book about the Hollywood Stars?
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head.
Lights, Camera, Stars, or something like that. He wrote the book, and he was a guest on one of our previous Zoom meetings.
Yeah,
he was excellent.
Yeah. Well, what I read about them is there was only like 4 feet of foul territory from first to the stand, something like that. Wow. And I saw a video an old Don Murray video of a celebrity baseball game at the Hollywood Stars Park, and Boris Karloff as Frankenstein came out as the umpire.
Oh, yeah.
Mickey Rooney was in the game. It was really, yeah. There's Don Murray used to do these home movies from Hollywood, and he did 2 of them, and one of them spends about 4 or 5 minutes talking about the celebrity game at the Hollywood Stars place. If you're ever in Los Angeles, where the Farmers Market is where that ballpark used to be.
Wrigley Field.
Not Wrigley, the one that the Hollywood Stars were in.
Okay.
Wrigley Field was actually, I think isn't that where they did Home Run Derby in the 50s?
Home Run Derby for the one.
And I think they might have done Damn Yankees. Some of that was filmed in that park.
Yeah.
If you ever see the movie.
The book was Lights, Camera, Fastball by Dan Taylor, and it was Gilmore Field.
Yeah, he
Yes.
was excellent.
That was a great
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Yeah, it must have been. I think I got a 1957 Angels yearbook, and Tommy Lasorda was one of their pitchers.
They had a lot of talent go through that California Pacific Coast League.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
DiMaggio, I think, held
the whole family, the DiMaggios, Williams. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people came through there.
DiMaggio had a 61 game hitting streak in that league.
Mhm.
But again, that has nothing to do with Dirk Hayhurst. Sorry.
I did have to laugh when they announced him when his first game. They had his last name wrong, which was kind of funny.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I did like his going into detail about how his first start the night before, all the anxiety that he had, and he's in his room, threw his mattresses up along the wall just to get some throwing in. Like, it was pretty interesting. I thought, made me think about these guys in their first starts, how stressful that really is.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we had something coming up in our life where we were going to do something the next day and had a rough night's sleep the night before? So I think we all can identify with that.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Especially when his pitching coach is calling him at midnight or something, like he woke him up and wanted to talk, make sure he's ready for tomorrow's game. Well, that was pretty funny. I'm sure Paul Skeens probably hasn't gone through the stress of his first game a few weeks ago.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe.
Was there a report that he was totally confident when he came out? I didn't know. I didn't read much about his reaction, or did anybody? I mean,
No.
I didn't think with Hayhurst is that, I mean, this is life changing. I mean, he was in the minors for so long, working his way up to this point. I mean, and then he like finally gets there. He finally gets to where he wants to be. And, he's been living that life of, near poverty. And so he finally gets, and so the pressure, because he doesn't have, probably doesn't have the second, third, fourth chances that a guy like Skeens will have. Even if like Skeens would have blown up in his first couple games, he gets kicked in the minors, he's going to get second, third chances. Hayhurst probably didn't have the luxury of that. And that's, again, the humanity of all this was what really, really struck me with this book.
that's a good point, because oftentimes biographies are done of players who succeed rather than players who are struggling. Maybe I don't know enough about the literature, but yeah.
Very true.
The other thing, I saw a video of Dirk after he retired. He went and played in Italy for a few years after the major leagues, and he loved it because he was treated like royalty over there. The ex major leaguer, Great food. He said the food, obviously, in Italy. But,
Yeah, they have
he
pasta
loved
between
it.
double headers, I think, from what I read.
Hmm.
He did some broadcasting as well. I'm not sure if anybody had seen that. He was on ESPN for a little bit. Got himself in a little bit of trouble. Some
Yeah.
players called some players out and took a little heat, I think.
Oh, called players out on what they were doing or their play or their attitude.
Poor player performance.
Oh yeah, well,
Some guys didn't take it too well.
well, especially from a person that had such a short major league career. You know, I heard Jeter say once he would never want to announce because he wouldn't want to criticize players. You know, and so yeah, I mean, but on the other hand, I'm sure that's part of the code of people watching the game. It's very rare when you get somebody who would want to criticize a player. Of course, sometimes, you know, what they're criticizing may be something that they were also at fault for. So I don't know. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen him.
Well, you know, a lot of the players don't like it when they get criticized, but I'll tell you what, the umpires this season and last season have been taking a lot of heat, and especially that last game over there in Chicago, RJ, with the end of the game call, with the interference call or something with the umpire.
I didn't see it, but I've seen some people defending that call as
but
the
people don't
umpires
seem to get
understanding the rule that nobody else does. You know, in that case.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the people, you know, the announcers getting any trouble for criticizing the umpires but
No,
but the players,
Right.
the players get more press, so therefore they have a bigger outlet to vent on.
is that what happened at the end of the game? Somebody had a run taken away because of interference. Is that what happened?
It was interference on an
Yeah.
infield fly, and
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, the
Huh.
and as a
recap
result,
I saw. Yeah,
it was the end.
Go ahead.
It ended the game.
Hmm.
yeah. Nobody had ever seen a game end on an infield fly before.
Wow, wow.
But yeah, the argument, you know, somebody on Facebook had the rule out, and it's like, yep, the umpires called it correctly according to the rule, and the announcers clearly didn't understand the rule or hadn't
Yeah.
bothered to check the rule book, but simply just went, oh, the umpires don't know what they're doing. It's like, well, no, they
Oh,
did. Apparently,
That's
I
unfortunate.
didn't see the actual play, but
Yeah, looking at Hayhurst's Wikipedia page, and it says he accused Clay Buchholz of cheating in 2013 using Crisco on baseball.
Whoa.
And then he
Wow.
also called out David Price for poor performance during a division series in 2013, which got him in a lot of heat. Him and Tom
Well-
Verducci both were criticizing David Price's performance, and David Price came out and attacked both of them.
Yeah, see, again, that's kind of tough when you are not like somebody that's been in that position and succeeded.
It's interesting because I think Carmen, I think, might have mentioned Jim Bouton and ball four, and there's almost like a ball four dynamic in this, in that you have an insider, you know, writing about what goes on inside, and of course, I think, you know, Bouton, if I'm correct, you know, he was kind of ostracized for a long time after ball four, and you know, you see a little bit of that hostility towards Hayhurst as well.
Well, he was, you know, of course he got in hot water with the Yankees, and I've only seen, I only saw one game at Yankee Stadium in my life, and it was Old Timers game in '98, and it was the game where he actually was welcomed back to Yankee Stadium. He made his first appearance in Yankee Stadium, but he was on everybody's hit list for a long time for writing that book. But one book that I always hear reference, and I never have read it. I don't. I'm going to get the name wrong on the pitcher for Cincinnati. It's either Jim O'Toole or Jim Maloney wrote a book. One of those two gentlemen wrote a book, a tell-all book.
Oh.
And
Brosnan?
oh, maybe it was Brosnan.
Brosnan?
Oh,
But I've never read that book, but that doesn't get as much notoriety as the Boughton book does.
Well, I think that was because no one had ever talked about what these guys do in the locker room. I think that's part of the era of the, you know, the baseball players are role models and all American boys, and to have come across with all of that, I think shocked some people and angered the others who want to maintain that image.
Sure.
I mean, I think a book like we read, you're not necessarily given the times we live in where people can tell a lot about themselves and their lives, has as much impact. Although I'm sure some people in this book, if I'm the pitching coach, I didn't come off very well in this book of the Padres. You know, really not somebody that was very supportive as a personality. He was old school, you know, just doesn't look like you can do it, or never encouraging, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course, Boughton went after Mickey Mantle too. So, you know, Mickey, you know, how many young folks, Mantle was a mythical figure. I mean, you know, like my dad, you know, he was my dad's hero. And, you know, you couldn't say anything wrong about Mickey Mantle. So.
Yeah. And Mantle, again, probably was helped by the fact that reporters didn't say things about players who did things that they witnessed, you know.
Well, I think it's, you know, it was a long time code. I mean, going back to even the days of Ruth and Gehrig and that era, when the press traveled on the train with the team.
Right.
A lot of the expenses of the reporters was covered by the team, and they knew that if they ever they observed a lot, and they knew a lot, and they knew that if they ever revealed it, their job was over.
Right.
And therefore they just bit the bullet, even though they might have had some great stories to publish. They did, but they knew that their career would be over if they ever revealed it. Marty Appel with the Yankees, I once asked him about Pete Sheehy, who was a longtime clubhouse manager in Yankee Stadium. If there's a guy who could write a book or have a book written about him, I mean, what he must have seen. And you know, in the career as a clubhouse man, who the guy who handed out the uniform numbers of Yankee State to the New York Yankees when they came up as rookies and things like that, and the keeper of the equipment, and you know, everything that he observed in that long career. I forget how long he was clubhouse man. He was probably over 50 years. But Marty Appel told me that they just knew that he had that respect for the code that you just didn't tell what you observed.
Right.
But today, I mean, look at TV news. You can't be anybody today with any kind of notoriety and keep anything secret. Somebody will
got
find out.
TMZ that keeps everything going too. And I'm sorry, but what gets me is these guys have enough pressure. They don't need to have those kinds of things come out. You know, the media, they have other things to do. They need to blast others.
Well, the problem too is that everybody that says anything has got somebody with a cell phone that's nearby. I mean, you're going to eventually, unless you completely censor yourself, somebody's going to, if they want, is going to have you record you doing something, saying something that in the past no one would have been able to do. You know, that doesn't, and plus, yes, if people didn't have the appetite for that, they probably wouldn't do it. We have to blame ourselves as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So what is Hayhurst up to nowadays? I mean, you gave his Wikipedia page, but I mean, you try to reach out to him, right, Scott?
I emailed him 5 times. He has his own page. I never got a response. I tried to message him on Twitter, and I didn't get a response. So I'm not exactly sure what he does today. It doesn't really say. You know, after 2013, it pretty much goes quiet. I know on his Twitter page, he's very divisive on his political views, and he posts a lot of things on there that he doesn't allow like many comments though. So he just kind of puts things out on a regular basis. He had a blog for a little bit too. I don't think he has that any longer. So I'm not sure really what he's doing today.
Well, he's also pretty well known. Like you said, Bullpen Gospels I think, was a very successful book. I mean, he may get approached by a lot of groups to speak, and he just, has decided he's not going to do that. Or like you said, he's got views that he doesn't want to get in a confrontation with people about. He doesn't allow comments. So, I would have thought though a group like SABR would be clearly a supportive group for him, to speak to. But he maybe just gets too many requests. It's too bad that he didn't just say, "I'm sorry, but I don't do that anymore," or
just something.
Well,
Yeah. I think Keith Olbermann's the one who's really promoted a lot of his writing. I think that got him some notoriety, got him out there to the public. He's an excellent writer. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the book. It was an easy read. You can go through it pretty quick with the stories. I remember the one section where he was talking about them selling pornography tapes or something. I was dying laughing reading that part. I could just see the image in my mind of these guys, pawning this stuff in the locker room.
Well, I bet you that probably got him some bad feelings from the people involved in that. Yes. I forgot. You're right. That was a big section.
Well, yeah, well, I think his girlfriend even questioned him on that, of whether he was buying any of it.
Right.
I was surprised he even said anything to her.
Well, also, we're forgetting the one thing that was rather spectacular about him is he was a man that was waiting for marriage before he was a virgin, and his wife was a virgin. Didn't I get that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fairly interesting in today's considering world and the world of pro athletes and people, the many temptations they have even in the minors. I mean, that you always see that the guys who are really already got the bonus, you always see them at the ballpark. They've got great looking girlfriends, and
Well, they're all,
and I'm sure they're like Bull Durham. You pick somebody that you think's gonna be successful.
Well, like that guy, the type of player that you're talking about is kind of like what you picture when if you watch a Major League and the Corbin Burnson character, where he has the big Stutz Bearcat car, and he's got the big house and the wife with the big blonde hair. Yeah. He's got everything going for him. I mean, that's the picture with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I see that in Harrisburg, where the guys who come in who actually, anytime you're at a baseball game and you see a group of very attractive women, you're thinking those are probably dating the players. And oftentimes that is correct. But in other words, all I'm really saying is there's so many opportunities for guys, I don't care at what level, and to somehow live a life where you are chaste is pretty remarkable in today's baseball world.
I worked in the ticket office of a minor league team, and the players used to leave tickets for guests, and some of the guests that used to come in to pick up the tickets, when they walked away, you looked at each other and you just kind of like rolled your eye. It's like,
well, sure.
We used to call those people the cha-ching ladies. Because if they're going to date them, there's money involved.
Well, I think
he would just say, "Hey, cha-ching."
He used the term. I don't think I think it was in this book. Cleat chasers. Was
okay.
Is that what he used? We used to
I
call
can't
them?
remember that, but
I think he called them cleat chasers.
I think you're right. Yeah. Well, yeah, and also the guys spying at the women in the bullpen. Plenty of that going on. The life in the bullpen was interesting. I didn't read Bullpen Gospels, where I guess more of this was involved, but the amount of guys, what they do during a game when they know they're not going to be in the game, how they're spending time or sneaking off to another area that isn't the bullpen. That was all pretty interesting.
Yes.
Because you know, those are players that could literally sit out there on a day when you know you're not even pitching. You know, when you've pitched 2 days in a row. If you know, that is probably pretty interesting kind of life. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, the one pitcher I think he talked about disappeared in the wooded area or the trees or the bushes and would pop out every now and then, and
Yeah.
some really weird things going on. I also like the part where they were checking in the hotel and I guess it was a drag show or something in Utah at the hotel. I thought that was very comical when he was at the bar and
He was at the bar.
he had some really good, interesting, funny parts in that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to try some of his later books just to see, you know, what it was like later on. But I enjoyed the book. I think it was a good recommendation, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Definitely. As we wrap up here, I guess we ought to look at what we want to read for next, I guess in
Yeah.
July.
I mean, we don't have to decide right now, but maybe we could, you know, get some ideas, throw a few things around. I know, Ted, you're working with the family of the author of Only the Ball Was White for early fall, but maybe we can squeeze one in between now and then. Anybody have any I'm open to anything. I'm pleasantly surprised with the recommendations we've had, because some of these books, I would have never picked up that book about cheating with the Houston Astros, and I probably wouldn't have picked this one up either. You know, I put it seated on a shelf and just going right on by, and but I thoroughly enjoyed them. So I'm open to just about anything if anybody has any ideas.
I'll throw
Yeah.
out Charlie Hustle. It's the new book that came out from Keith O'Brien.
He's making a lot of rounds on the chapter Zoom calls.
He is, and I was wondering if maybe we could grab him and try to do a session with him.
It's a really nice, I saw him on one of these Zooms, and he's very entertaining too.
Oh, okay.
So, I like
Now,
him.
is the Rose book simply his career or the aftermath as well? You know, post baseball, there's there a lot of discussion of that in the book?
It's the rise and fall of Pete Rose and the last glory days of baseball.
Okay. You know, I have to say now, I was never a proponent of him being in the Hall of Fame before, but now that baseball is so totally prostituted themselves with the betting apps, they should just let the guy in now.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about talking out both sides of your mouth. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I've only read a little bit at the beginning, and that's the author's contention.
Yeah.
Because of how things have changed, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Betting
Yeah,
going on. I mean, Major League Baseball is so tied to gambling. All the major sports are.
It's terrible.
Was my understanding is Major League Baseball will reprimand the club if they change the starter that people have bet money on. In other words, I mean, I think I'm right about that. They monitor that. I mean, it's insane.
Keith O'Brien would be excellent. He was in Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, and I got to talk to him. And he, total insider view. Rose let him in, but Rose hasn't spoke to him since the book was published, even though it's pretty much down the middle.
Well, do you think he'd be willing to speak to the group? Okay, well, I think
as
that's
Karen
important.
said, he's been making the rounds.
Yeah, and he's when you ask questions, he doesn't stop. He doesn't ignore you. He tells exactly what needs to be said.
Wow. Well, that sounds pretty exciting.
Does anybody have connection? Can anybody reach out to him?
Well, I could if you want.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I'm gonna reach out to him anyway. So I'll add this. Is there a date you'd want to, or
Well, I think we're looking July or July or August.
Yeah, I
okay?
mean, is that something we should write emails to each other about what are the better dates? I mean, I don't know if we can decide that now, or I don't know. What's everybody think? How do you usually do it? Don't you usually figure out the date afterwards, or?
Yeah, we try to pick some dates and just throw them out through email and see what everybody's available.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be better.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to his availability, right? If we really want him.
Exactly.
So I'll get to him over the weekend.
That's great.
Although for RJ and Carmen and Frank, I guess, I don't know where Scott lives. I'll be in Midland Cemetery this afternoon where Rap Dixon is buried. So if you're the big Memorial Day event,
What time is that?
I'd say from 12:30 till 3-ish.
Okay. All right.
Ted, I loved your interview on ABC TV the other day. I thought it was great.
Well, yeah, except for the mic I had on didn't work.
But
So
she didn't give me the microphone, but at the beginning there. But that was terrific.
I wasn't. Did you think she had read what you had done, or?
I had appeared on her show in October 5th of 2015. So she knew rap pretty well,
Okay.
I thought.
All right. Well, I thought you did very well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the whole show was really, really good, really well done. Had a lot of
Not as
interesting
well as
things.
you will be doing in Cooperstown on Thursday, right? 4:00,
That's
right?
right. That's right. My real Cooperstown challenge comes at the meet and greet at the Malloy conference when somehow I need to subtly hint that they need, in my opinion, more Negro leaguers and players in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the opportunity to welcome them at that meet and greet. So I'm working on it.
Good.
Yeah, it was a real good interview the other day. Harold Reynolds and Harold Baines were really talking through the Negro Leagues. I don't know if anybody saw that interview, but it was well done. I mean, Harold Baines is up there right now, getting and up in Cooperstown.
Oh, sure.
The
Today-
series that I hear on satellite radio, Diamond, whatever it's called, from the head of the Negro League Museum, all of those are really excellent.
That's the bet.
All right. Well, as you wrap up, anybody have any parting comments?
Well, just one thing on the Bob Peterson book club. During this discussion, some of you gave me your opinions of dates. The 12th of October looks like, and I've already written the Peterson family. I don't think they've got back to me yet, but I'm looking forward to that event. It should be great.
I'll be sitting in the LA Coliseum watching USC play Penn State that day.
Ah,
And also October 12th is Yom Kippur.
okay. Well,
Just pointing it out. You don't need me there, but anybody who's Jewish may not be able to attend.
yeah. Yeah, well, Scott can't make the 5th and Carmen can't make the 12th. And they're the preferred dates of the family.
That's fine. You can do, if you want to do the 5th, that's no problem. I can always watch recording.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Yom Kippur would be a good date to miss, I think. Skip. But now I got to get back to the Petersons, but let's shoot for the 5th.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll send out some dates on the next book club in July and
Okay.
August.
And we're gonna
Ted,
settle on the Charlie Hustle book.
yeah, and then Ted, if you can work with try to get on Keith O'Brien, see if he has a date available.
I'll do that.
Ted, you said you were going to reach out to him anyway. What were you going to do with him?
Well, I didn't read the book yet. However, he was, as Karen said, very personable. I want to talk Rap Dixon with him.
Now, does he have a connection with the Negro Leagues in any way?
No, he's got my biography, my 10-page biography.
Right.
I sent him that, and so that's what I want to talk to him about.
You think there might be a book in there somewhere?
Oh, I think there definitely is on Rap Dixon. Sure.
By him?
Rap Dixon, not that this is worth a book, but he's the only player in Major League Baseball history to have 4 triples in a game since 1897.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow.
Cool.
Okay, well, I think that's everything. We'll call it a day, and
Nice.
thanks everybody for joining us this morning.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, thank you for having this and for everybody's comments.
Good
Okay.
show.
Yep.
We'll be in
Enjoy the
touch.
weekend.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Take care.